Hello friends, today I wanted to do a brief video for you featuring something I just received in the mail today. It's the Mystic Tarot. This particular edition was published in 2003. It's no longer available except for, if you can find it like on eBay or someplace like that. I was lucky enough to find somebody selling it on Amazon Marketplace, and I got it, I believe, for $42. So kind of pricey for a tarot deck, but I had seen this on another reviewer's video, and I really just had to have it. The reason, it's a Pip deck, and the pips were just really beautifully done. But first, let's start with the packaging. This is a Barnes & Noble package production, and it consists of a book and a deck of cards. Inside, as you can see, this snap case. You open the case. Inside we have the book, nice sturdy little book, 128 pages, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But I wanted to share my fun with you as I unbox these cards. As you can see, they're brand new cards, still in their little paper holders. So let's get out the Major Arcana cards here. Unpaper them, as you might want to say. All right, and let's just, I want to get a representation of the Pip cards also. So let's see here. Undo these, remove the paper. Alrighty, so first let's go a little bit through the book. This is a rather basic book, and she just covers kind of the bare bones of tarot. She goes a little bit into Major Arcana, Minor Arcana, and then the suits correspond to the elements. We have the suit of fire, the suit of earth, the suit of air, and the suit of water. And I really like that. That's what drew me to this deck, because I enjoy associating with the elements. And that's the easiest way for me to relate to the cards. Then she has some examples of tarot in action and 3-card readings, 12-card spreads. She was apparently, this is a woman who calls herself Mystic Meg, and I believe she is from England, and had some sort of a tarot program or something like that. I'm not really sure of all the details on that, but she was apparently taught by her grandmother, her great-grandmother. And I like this deck, as I said, because there are Pip cards, and because this does not follow a lot of the Rider-Waite symbology, which I have always found very limiting. For instance, the most commonly recognized areas of that would be in the suit of swords in the Rider-Waite deck. And the swords are very negative cards, even though they're supposed to be associated with the element of air and with the mind and knowledge and education and thought and wisdom. For some reason, the Rider-Waite and even the Thoth decks and almost all the decks in the last 100 years have associated the swords negatively. Well, any card can be positive and have negative aspects in it as well. But I don't really care for the cards that primarily emphasize negative over a neutral or a positive vibe, so to speak. So for that reason, I kind of enjoyed this Pip deck. Now, what do I mean by a Pip deck? Well, as I said, the suits, the 4 different suits are 4 different elements, and the 1 through 10 cards in each suit just feature 1, 2, or 3, and then a picture of the element. For instance, 1 of water, or ace of water, 2 of water, 3 of water, 4 of water, 5 of water. So while the Rider-Waite deck had a different kind of a story picture for each one of those cards, this deck doesn't have that. So what you would have to do to read with this deck is you would have to rely on your knowledge of the elements and numerology and synthesize what each card means to you and how it relates to the particular situation that you're looking at to read. So I find that a little more freeing than looking at a card that has a very specific meaning. Say, for instance, 5 of water, which would be 5 of cups in the Rider-Waite system, which shows someone with 5 cups and 3 cups are full and 2 are spilled and the person is upset, and you're supposed to take from that a meaning of loss, or perhaps that the person is only looking at the negative rather than the positive in life, something along those lines. So that's kind of a limiting view, when in actuality a 5 relates to change or conflict or instability, and the suit of water would relate to relationships, social situations, your emotions, the arts and sciences and creative endeavors. So depending on what type of a situation you're reading for, you can use a more generic card like this and let your intuition run wild, rather than looking at somebody who's sitting with 5 cups and 2 are spilled and 3 are not spilled. So it's a little bit of a different point of orientation. I also really like the artwork in this deck. The artwork is Carolyn Smith, and I don't know if she's done any other tarot decks or anything along those lines. I'm not really familiar with her, but the book is pretty interesting. It goes through the general meanings of the suits, and then for each card, let's go for instance here to what we have traditionally called the Fool in Rider-Waite decks. They call the beginning. And there's the Fool. It's a typical depiction of the Fool, but it's called the beginning. And then the way this book is laid out is very similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with the Enchanted Tarot by Zerner Farber. The Enchanted Tarot has a book, and it kind of gives for each card a different interpretation depending on what you're reading for. And this book does the same. So say you're doing a love reading, and the beginning card is the one that you're looking at for that position in your reading, or for that particular question if you're just drawing one card. You can also look at the beginning card and kind of get an interpretation if you're looking at it as a general life question, or if you're looking at it as what sort of luck you're having, or as cosmic counsel from above. So for every card, they give you how it would sort of relate as a love reading, a life reading, a luck reading, or cosmic counsel. So the book is somewhat brief. It does go through all the 78 cards. And then they give you some sample readings here. I haven't really read the book more than just the first chapter or so, so I haven't gotten real familiar with it. They give a sample reading here, Joyce's reading, her question and what her cards were, and then how they were interpreted. So that'll be kind of fun to read. Okay, I took a little break so that I could kind of reorganize these cards and show you the more interesting ones. Let's start with the Major Arcana. There we have what would be traditionally the Fool, but in this deck it's called Beginning. Similar elements. They've got the dog and the Fool that's kind of about to step off the cliff, and to make it even more dangerous and exciting, they've got a little alligator there. That's kind of cute. All right, the Magician. We've got the symbols of the elements down here, which is really nice. And if you'll notice in these cards, they've also got astrological and elemental symbols in the corner. So if you like to use those associations when you read, you've got those included here. There is the High Priestess. Very lovely. I like her. The colors in these cards are quite vibrant. Really nice. Here's the Empress. Got that traditional look and feel of a Earth Mother, pregnant belly, fruits of the field, standing on the moon. And here is an interesting card. Here's the Emperor. As you can see, he kind of looks like a playing card king. The way his hair has been drawn and his face is pointing sideways. It's interesting. You know, tarot cards and regular playing cards are cousins. They have the same originations, so I kind of like that this is drawn with that look. And here we have the High Priest, which would be called the Hierophant. That depicts a mentor or a authority figure, conformity, a teacher, the Lovers, an intense attraction or affinity towards a person or something, a job, another person, a hobby, something like that. Anyway, here's the Chariot. Very nice, very nice. Sort of look like chess pieces, those horses there. And here we have a departure from Rider-Waite. This is placing Justice as 8, and this deck has Strength as number 11. So here's Justice, number 8. You know, this card, I don't really like it. You can't really see the scales or the little baskets in the scales. They kind of fade into the floor there. But it's different. Now here's another interesting looking card. Here's the Hermit, and it looks like an Egyptian mummy. Very interesting. It's even got kind of the hieroglyphic dogs or cats or whatever those are down there in the corner. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune, number 10. All these cards have quite a bit of Egyptian symbols in them, which is kind of neat. A lot of decks you'll find have Egyptian symbols and influence, although I think it's now considered largely a myth that Egypt had much influence on tarot cards, other than esoteric tradition of Golden Dawn around the turn of the last century. Here we have number 11, Strength. Always one of my favorite cards. She's strong yet gentle. 12 is Self-Sacrificed, or the Hanged Man, as it is sometimes known. And here's an interesting version of the Death card, showing how the body morphs into plant life, regeneration. Death of one thing gives way to birth of something else. Temperance, moderation in all things. Very pretty. There's what used to be the Devil card, but this is called Temptation in this deck. Still does look like a Devil card, but it's just not called that. The Tower. Look at the people kind of falling there. Pretty typical Tower card. The Star. That's always one of my favorites in every deck. Beautiful. The Moon. Sun. Beautiful Sun card. Wow, I love that. Really gives you that warm, glowing feeling. Judgment. Blowing the horn, awakening. And here we have the World. I had to kind of laugh when I first saw this card because she reminds me of the wife in Family Guy. So there's the World. The 4 animals representing the elements there at the corners. Okay, now let's go on, and I'll show you some of the more interesting cards of the minor suits. Let's start with the Wands, or in this deck it's called Fire, and it shows torches there for the minors. So there's the Fire Princess. She's holding her torches. Fire Prince. Again, he looks very much like a jack that you would see in a playing card deck. I really like that. Fire Queen and Fire King. There's that playing card head there. And there we have the Ace of Fire, and then the pips just add an additional torch to each one until you get to a card with 10. Alrighty, now let's do the air, which would correlate to the suit of swords in the Rider-Waite deck. There's the Air Princess. Very pretty. And what I like about this deck, instead of using swords to depict the concept of the element of air, they use birds. So there's the Air Princess. She's got a couple of birds at her hands. Air Prince. Looks like he's commanding the beasts of the air. The Air Queen. She's got her feather and her feather headdress, and very nice. And the Air King. Again, here's a playing card looking face. He's even got clouds on his robe there. How interesting. And Ace of Air. I just love that card. Isn't that pretty? And then the other pip cards, there's 2 of air, 3 of air, 4 of air, and so on. All right, let's move along to the water, suit of water, and this would correspond to cups or chalices. Here's the Water Princess. She just looks like a little drama queen in the making, doesn't she? Water Prince, a very romantic guy. The Water Queen. And the Water King. And here we have Ace of Water, which is like a fountain. And the other cards just continue to add fountains. 2 fountains, or 2 of water, 3 fountains, 3 of water, and so on. Alrighty, and then we'll move along to the last deck. Instead of being called coins or pentacles or diamonds in the playing card decks, this suit is known as Earth in this deck. So there is the Earth Princess. That's really pretty. I love the flowers in her dress. She's very earthy. Earth Prince with his palm fronds. The Earth Queen. And the Earth King. Very nice. Very nice indeed. And here is Ace of Earth. So these pip cards are representative of Earth, and they include trees. So 1 tree for the Ace of Earth, 2 of Earth, 3 of Earth, and so on until you get to 10 of Earth. So that's my run through. I hope you enjoyed, and give me a like, subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future. I've got quite a few tarot decks, and I'm not an experienced reader. I'm a learner. I'm on a journey, and running through them like this helps me to kind of learn myself. So if I can share and learn at the same time, it's great. Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.